Welcome back to more Summoner's War Monster Strategies. Today we're going to be looking at the Water Elemental, normal elemental, not lower high, Daharenos. Okay, so even though Taharis, the Wind Elemental, like I said, has a pretty good use until you get Orochi, this guy on the other hand is not he's not. Sorry, but he's just not a Tahar. He's not. And here's why. First of all, his stats. Well, he has around 7,000 HP, 7,080 I believe. He has 758 attack, 417 defense, and 107 speed. So all elementals are pretty much glass cannons. As you can see, the attack power does go beyond 700. But his defense, I mean, 417, only lower than Taharis, more HP than Taharis, so overall he's just as fragile as Taharis. But the real reason why this guy is not useful is, well, his skills. Let's talk about him. Icy Claw. Attacks the enemy with sharp icy claws, inflicts continuous damage for 2 turns if you get a critical hit. The second skill is Element Explosion, causes an elemental explosion to attack an enemy. The inflicted damage is proportionate to the enemy's max HP. Just like Lin, can deal massive damage to bosses, especially the Hall of Water boss. And the third one creates a shield that absorbs damage equivalent to 100% of your max HP for 3 turns. You can kind of already tell what his problem is. If you look at his first 2 skills, compare that to his third one, they're very different. Because of that, it's like he's more of a hybrid for some reason, so if you go one way or the other, you can't use the full potential of the other side. Here's what I mean by this. Rune setups. So for rune setups, I mean, I would probably say Fatal Blade. To make him offense, the classic Fatal Blade for beginners, you know, that's if you of course have him in the beginning of the game and you have no other monster. And I would just go with the most basic setup, Fatal Blade, attack, attack, attack. You could replace them with speed, you could replace them maybe with a critical rate in slot 4 if you want, so that you can land DOTs with the first one. But the reason why I'm saying this is just so you can use his second skill to full potential. Obviously, I'm not going to say critical damage because if you use him early in the game, which is the only time you should be using this guy, you would not have substats or runes that would give you a lot of critical rate, so you can't really abuse the critical damage in slot number 4. Which is why I would say I would go with consistency with attack percentage, because like I said, he is an early game monster. Now, the problem with him is that if you use his second skill to full potential, like I said, Fatal Blade, which is probably what you should do, you're going to deal some really high damage to bosses. Really high damage, especially the Hall of Water boss. I mean, if you couldn't already tell, Lane can do a couple 100,000 per attack. Actually, I've done like 372,000 damage in one hit with my Lin, who also does damage proportionate to the enemy's max HP. This move has less damage than Lin because, you know, Lin is a 3-star. But yeah, even though I do know the true potential of attacks that can do this, just like a Spectra as well, you know, Spectra's second skill can do this too, which is deals damage proportionate to the enemy's max HP. Even though I do know the true potential of these attacks, I mean, the fact that he is extremely just glassy, you know, as well as his third skill being something that you don't need for that much. Okay, here's why. I didn't talk about the skill. This one says, well, I mean, it's a powerful shield. It's 100% of your max HP. The problem, if you make him like a glass cannon, like how I recommended, this is not going to protect you that much because he only has a pathetic, how much, 7,000 HP? Which is really not, I mean, it's going to go away very fast. It's not a lot of tankiness. If you make him tanky with HP to try and maximize the potential of this skill, you lose out on attack for the first 2. You see that? And to be quite honest, his stats aren't exactly extremely impressive to be able to utilize both effectively. Even his attack, you know, I mean, the higher monsters that can do some nice attack damage, you know, would have at least 800-ish attacks, somewhere there. This guy has 758. Not exactly impressive, and because of that, you know, because of his rather mediocre stats in the end, combined with kind of being a hybrid setup, a rather strange skill setup, that combination, it just doesn't make him that useful. It doesn't. My overall review of him, if you need a monster that can do damage proportionate to the enemy's max HP early in the game, go ahead and use him, but you will see that, well, his use is limited. Eventually, when you get to mid-game, you're going to replace him for other monsters that can do this, whether it's a Spectra, who can also decelerate the entire enemy team, but I'll be talking about Spectra eventually in the series, or whether it's a Lin, who has a hell of a lot more damage multipliers as well as 2 skills, not 1, that can do this. You know, those monsters will prove a lot more useful than Daharenos. Unfortunately, he's not too useful. Alright, so that's my review. If you have any rune recommendations for this guy, go ahead and leave a comment, so other people can see. If you've had some successes with this guy, go ahead and leave your rune setups. I'm sure people would appreciate that. Thank you for watching, goodbye everybody, and as always, until next time.